industry panel. I have been asked to introduce this panel. You might find it odd that there's a dude standing up here with all these beautiful, powerful ladies of the cannabis movement. I am the managing director of Canacare Doctors. We have a staff of about 127 people from Bangor, Maine, down to DC, and 80% of that staff is women. On our executive board, which consists of 7 people, 4 are women. Some of them are sitting on this board right now. It wasn't planned like that. It just happened because the women who work for Canacare just stood up to the plate and took it. In the cannabis industry, it's fresh. There's new opportunities, but some of the same biases and some of the same sexist thought patterns for corporate America are now coming back into the fold. The cannabis industry is turning into a multi-billion-dollar industry with multi-billions of dollars of investment and profits. Also comes what some would refer to as the white boy club, which I'm a member of. We have big money coming into cannabis through traditional sources now. It's more important now than ever that panels like this exist and very strong women that are on my right exist to step up and grab the opportunity that's in front of them and not let traditional stereotypes be ignored.
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Janice Lilly, and I am going to be introducing today's women's panel. It's fascinating to me that we did this a year ago, and we have some new faces. I want to have everybody just take a moment just to introduce yourself and give us a little bit of a background as to what brought you here today, and then we'll start with the questions. I'm going to start right here with Pat, and then go all the way down the line.
My name is Catherine Lewis. I'm the board chair of Medical Marijuana Caregivers of Maine. I'm also the partner of an LLC, Homegrown Healthcare of Maine, with my husband. I got involved several years ago to better help my husband access his medicine and found that there was a need for more professional people to help dispel the stigma that seems to be attached to this industry. And it's been a story ever since. Thanks.
My name is Kim Pretty. I'm currently the executive director for MMCM. Thank you. I've been a member since the beginning and have been on the board of directors for about 4 years now and was the Southern Maine Educational Director alongside Catherine Lewis. I took a brief hiatus for the last year and a half as I helped open one of the 4 dispensaries over in New Hampshire as their master grower and their CIP production manager. But I found that I loved growing, but I loved the advocacy work that we did over here more, and I truly missed it. So I'm really excited to be back and shaping the way our laws change in our medical program in the future.
My name is Jenna McDonald, and I'm the operations manager of Canacare clinics here in Maine. We're located in many states through all the way down to Washington, D.C. We have 4 clinics running from Biddeford, Auburn, Augusta, and Bangor here in Maine. What brought me to this industry many, many years ago, I have an uncle that suffered from debilitating arthritis at an early age here in Maine. We've had a program for a long time. People here in the state are extremely educated. I learned about the endocannabinoid system at an early age, but then spent some time in Florida where my head kind of got filled with the stigma and people who are less educated about the plant. So I hid the fact that I used it as a medicine for a very long time. I went through a lot of different career changes, a lot of economic instability that led me to the healthcare field, where I witnessed thousands of patients whose healthcare and quality of life was so much better using cannabis, and I didn't understand why people weren't documenting this. They weren't even talking about it in the hospitals. It was a very hush-hush thing. So when I started working with Canacare and did thousands of interviews with different patients, and it confirms in your heart you can't stop talking about it. And that's the one thing that we need to do, is to continue to educate, reduce the stigma, and to take these patients and create that community where they feel comfortable talking about the fact that this is their choice of medicine.
Hello, my name is Devin Slomowitz, and I'm a financial advisor working in this space. I'm also working on starting a chapter of Women Grow, with a couple ladies here on the panel. And look, we're all in this space. My mom was a company, and she was for a very long time. And I really kind of got me interested in this space, and there's a lot of the education going on in the industry, and I've developed some ways to work with those things currently. So, lines of communication open with right hearts and right people, and so I'm happy to hear amazing things.
Thanks, Devin. My name is Marta Downing, and I work at Canacare Docs. And we do have a strong group of women in leadership positions, and Kevin has been an incredible supporter. I came from Wall Street, the institutional side, and the primary voice there was the person with the most money was right. And that's tough. That's a tough place to be. And right now, in cannabis for women, we have the opportunity to change that conversation and make it a knowledge-based and care-based industry. But we're going to have to fight for it, and this panel is the right group. So I can't wait to hear what everybody has to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. My name is Ellen Brown. I am an Air Force veteran. I am an activist, and I am an educator. I got started because in 2009 I moved to Humboldt County, and I started cultivating that for myself. And I started out as a trimmer, and then I eventually became a manager and lead cultivator. And I think it's so important just to show that where I came from Massachusetts, not knowing anything, moved all the way out to Humboldt County and said, please just give me a chance. I just need an opportunity to learn. And I was given that opportunity. And that's more common than you think. If you just put yourself out there and put it to the universe and go, and all these wonderful resources we have here today, we have all these different patient organizations, you're going to be able to get involved. And what's wonderful is we're such a diverse group of women that we all have different skill sets. We have lawyers, lobbyists, doctors, educators, cultivators, so please feel free to ask us questions, and whatever you want to be in this industry, go for it, pursue your dream.
So hello, my name is Faith Benedetti, and I guess I've been involved in Maine's medical marijuana law since about 2007, when I received an email from the Marijuana Policy Project looking for field organizers to get a new law up and going in Maine. Previously, we had a law in 1999. But it really did not do much for patients. It allowed a small number of patients to have some plans and a small number of conditions. People with HIV, people with cancer. So it wasn't what we have now. So this was to increase access for patients, to make it possible for them to cultivate their own or to purchase their own from caregivers or dispensaries. So in 2009, we had a small number of people who got together, put together a citizens initiative, which was on the ballot in 2009 and passed with 59% of the vote. So if you were living in Maine at the time and you voted for that law, you are part of this story, and I want you to give yourself a round of applause. If you voted for that law in 2009. So currently, and since then, I have been a caregiver for patients. Primarily I work with women, but I have worked with lots and lots and lots of people over essentially the past decade. So it's really weird to be sitting at the far end of this panel and to feel like the old school here. But I'm grateful and grateful that 10 years from then, we have this incredible trade show. So I don't know where the next 10 years are going to take us in cannabis, but this is pretty interesting.
Thank you so much, Faith. And it is something that I wanted to, earlier today somebody asked me how I got involved in this, and for those of you that don't know, I am a comedian and an edutainer known as the Vagina Lady. I usually do positive sexual health and reproduction, but do a lot of work with domestic violence, and was told that domestic violence simply means violence at home. And one of the ways that we need to eradicate violence is by reducing and eliminating some of the barriers that make, even in 2016, Maine women and New England women in particular kind of beholden to the old boys club. So I kind of like to start with a little bit of the reflection in the past and what you guys have seen in the cannabis industry that has changed dramatically over the last 10 years for women. I mean, I think it's fantastic that, 10 years later, this is the second time we've done this panel, but it did kind of come to a little bit of a surprise considering it was all women doing the work, that we had never all stood up together and said, oh wait, we are doing this work. So would anybody like to talk a little bit about what they have seen personally or professionally change in the community?
I'll just offer this very brief insight, and that is that I think the time that I've been involved, I've seen women go from trimmers to businesswomen.
I've definitely seen a dramatic change within the industry in the past decade. Women are more loud, women are more proud, we're coming out. We're getting involved in our social networks, whatever they may be. If you work in healthcare, if you're a parent, if you're a cultivator like myself, women are not afraid to talk to their friends. They're becoming less afraid to bring it up at PTA meetings. Mothers are like, I have a child who has seizures, how can I get cannabis? And with all these wonderful resources, we're better able to empower each other, and that's huge, especially women organizations like Women's Grow. I just went to the Boston chapter last week. Those organizations are going to be monumental in making sure that women feel safe and that we're able to get the resources we need.
So I can't go back 10 years. I can go back maybe 4, and I would second needing more women who are technically knowledgeable, which I think is so important. Understanding the plant, understanding growing the plant, I see more and more, and I learn more and more from women who are at that higher level. I also see risk going up because you need to take risk to be successful, and I think that's in any business, especially when we're on the cutting edge of a business that's very stigmatized. So I'm not suggesting that you take crazy risks, but you do need to find out where your tolerance is for being a caregiver. If you're a caregiver in Massachusetts and you have one patient, someone really needs your help, wow, that's tough. Or are you going to experiment with multiple strains where you might have more plants or more cured flower material than you're allowed to have? Where's your risk? So I think you need to have that question with yourself, and I see more women having that question. But I think I would caution all of us on this panel and everybody else that we really need to hold our place now. I mean, there is a lot of money streaming into this industry, and it comes from tech, and it comes from healthcare, and it comes from Wall Street, and that has been a very traditional looking field. And so the investment money, we need to find women to make investments, and we need to reach out and find those women and assure them that they can be successful in this space. Otherwise, we are going to have an industry that looks just like tech, just like Wall Street, and just like medicine.
So to speak to Marta's point about taking risks, being a financial advisor working on this, a lot of issues, investment dollars and money streaming into the industry. I took a huge risk. I worked for a very well-known company, and I went to them and started working on a pilot project to integrate folks in this industry into everyday rural business. Literally the work that every other person in every other industry has access to. So when I went up to Denver, I really had no idea what I was coming into the industry, and that's where I met Jack and realized how things were going. And it really had nothing out here in the city of Maine for such an incredible organization. There's these huge organizations really close to
So, we're working on building that and just seeing a larger number of women, in the industry, needing support every avenue, from doctors, lawyers, finance, every walk of life. And it's just fabulous to see all the women coming together and supporting each other. Over the past couple of years, just here in Maine, I've noticed a tremendous shift in the strength of women and being advocates and communicators and building the cannabis community. That's due in part Kim Printy, Catherine Lewis, everyone that's on this panel. And it's about taking the time to get together to strengthen numbers, and it's continuing with that communication, reaching out into our communities, and forming a strong bond. A couple of years ago, it was mostly all just men on the scene, and they were the growers. And every once in a while, you'd see the wives would start to step up to the plate, and they started to get involved with the business. And then it was families starting to get involved with the business. And we're seeing an overall shift, and I'm seeing a direction even more closely in this state through our dispensaries, through everyone that's involved with the caregivers, through our educators, through our advocates, all of those people coming together to make a difference.
I'll add to what Jenna just shared. I know that when I first started growing many years ago, I was the only woman cultivator in the state that I knew. And that was a little disheartening to me because there were a lot of women that I knew had the skills to do that. I didn't know any women that worked in grow shops or did consulting for building out space and how to grow. And now we have women that are running grow shops and owning them. They are some of the best consultants that we have. Recently, a few of us had an opportunity to go down to Orlando to a show, and the women that approached us from other states to help them to have a program in their state, it wasn't men that were approaching us asking us how to do that. It was the women that were taking the lead of, tell us how you did it. We really want to have a program in our state. So that's really encouraging to see that we are taking the lead. I know a lot of women who are very talented with their edibles. They're not just manufacturing their edibles for their patients now. They are reformulating those edibles and branding them so that they can be leaders in the industry. So it's very exciting.
I came from a little bit different background. I came from business and financial services as an executive for a national company. So I was used to kind of bumping shoulders, elbows with the men of that industry. When I got involved in the cannabis industry here in Maine, I was very fortunate to have been helped up by Kim Printy specifically and Faith Benedetti. They were two women that I actually looked up to. I met them in the State House hallways. I saw them out in public in the festivals, and even better, when I had gardening questions, they were there to help me. They were pros, and they had even better answers than half the men that I talked to. So I didn't really realize that here in this industry that there was a issue with the gender roles. It wasn't until actually we started going to some of the out-of-state venues that I saw the Good Old Boys Club, and that was a little bit concerning. And like Kim said, it was the women that were coming to us for advice, and we now have hope again to go and help them. But I think that Maine culture has always included the women. We've worked alongside of men right along. But in this industry, it's going to be very, very important for us to stand up and continue to take the lead and run with it, because the money that's coming into this industry is huge. It's more than we can fathom, and that our people, we need to take care of our families here in Maine, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is to continue to lead the parade, not follow.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to just cycle back with a couple of individual questions because you have such varied experiences. Alan, I'm going to actually ask you, as a veteran, can you talk a little bit about your experience, not only as being a female veteran, but also about your use and cultivation use in the community of veterans for fellow women?
I'm so glad you asked that. So cultivation, that is my stance. That's where I come from. That's what I consider to be my forte. That's one of my #1 passions, next to being an activist. And part of what stimulated being an activist were the way that the laws for caregivers were being written. I realized that Massachusetts, for example, we don't have a plant count. They consider a 60 supply to be 10 dry ounces. That's not enough information for me. So I do my own consulting. I work over at the Glass Jar, and I actually work with the New England Veterans Alliance, and they've been phenomenal in getting veterans connected with one another. Being a female veteran, I noticed no difference. There was no gender, there was no biases. They treated me just like one of the guys, and I worked just as hard. And that's the point, is that to show that I'm a woman, I've been in the military, and it was no different. But there's always like a certain amount of female camaraderie when you see other women doing things. Like with these women on the panel, I'm honored to be with you guys. You all have such an amazing skill set. And when you see other women in the military, same thing. We do different jobs. I'm a nutritionist. What do you do? And it's about being there and being able to be that support system for one another. As a cultivator, the #1 thing I can do, the way I can give back directly, is by growing my medicine and helping patients. That's the way I'm able to give back. So it's so important for myself to constantly stay educated and up to date, because the technology is changing every day, the science is changing every day, and in a positive way, that we have new research, I have facts, it's no longer anecdotal, I have proof of concept, and we're only going to get that with research and working together. For the New England Veterans Alliance, we get together once a month at the Tetrahydro Club every Tuesday, and you don't have to be a veteran to come, but what we're doing is we're working on getting other people involved. We want to be a part of the stand downs. We go to the city council meetings. We try to make our state representatives realize that there is an opiate epidemic, which is another panel in itself, and it especially impacts the veteran population. We are probably the most overprescribed population of people, and we're like 2%. So we really strive to empower everyone to be their own best advocates, educate each other, and we hold classes, we hold seminars, we encourage people to come to things like this. So any veterans out there, anyone who knows a veteran in need, I'm over at the Glass Jar, Neva is right there, and either way we'll connect you to the people that you need to be connected with. We're always here to help, and any way that I can facilitate somebody to become better educated, they'll be able to. It's a stigma, and what we're trying to do is create a paradigm shift. I'm trying to create a mass consciousness for everybody to know that cannabis is good, endocannabinoid system should be a word that we use at the dinner table. It's part of your body. It's just as real as your lymphatic system or your immune system, but it's the most under-talked about thing on the planet. So, anything you need to know for education, or if you wanted to work with the Veterans Alliance or help us cultivate, we always need raffles, we always need things that we can donate to veterans or other organizations to just make our organization stronger. Like you were saying, there's something to strengthen numbers, so I need every single one of you, and I need every single one of your unique, wonderful skill sets.
Thank you so much, Ellen. And I want to turn this to Jenna and Marta in particular. When we talk about, systems, you tend to think about the military system being very male-dominated, and I'm sure you two have found, with your experiences in the medical community being very male-dominated, do you find that your role as proponents of medical cannabis and women make you either in line with more colleagues or at odds with more colleagues? And I love, Marta, what you said about making sure that we get on board before it starts getting to be as male-dominated as the tech industries are. So do you have anything that you can share as far as, for anybody that's in the audience, as far as what they could do to help, the medical community move forward for women?
Yeah, I think that the in medicine, you know, we're not practicing cannabis medicine at the highest level yet because we're still involved in state verification and blessing somebody that's Crohn's or migraines or something else. And so we need to do that as quickly as we can and segue to real cannabis therapies. But I think I can't really say I don't think that the cannabis medicine community is as cohesive as it will be and needs to be. And I really think that Jenna and I play a really big part in being leaders of that. You know, the tide rises, lifts all ships, and we need to set a high standard for all of our pot docs. We need to own that language and make sure that everybody's doing great. We work with people that aren't. And so I would say that if you're here and you're sitting in this audience right now and you're already an expert, you made the investment to come here today as a woman and you know more already than everybody else because you came to this event right here. You know, go out there and be evangelical. You are the expert already, and that's empowering. And I think that if the decision that you made to walk in this door can move cannabis medicine forward. And cannabis is wellness, because as I really believe, I like this to be an industry built on caring. So right now, we're so incohesive in terms of that clinic and that clinic, you know, who's doing research and who's not. We can, that I think is a place, and a great question, we can really be out front of bringing that together, and that's then going to create powerful leadership.
I think part of the reason why, especially here in Maine, most of the practitioners that I work with, I mean, we comprise mostly of a female staff. And part of that is it's the beginning of a project. We've only just begun. Even though we've known about cannabis and have been using it as a medicine for 2,000 years, we're just getting to the point now where science is beginning to give us more answers. Up until this point, it's been a very intuitive thing where everyone is experiencing cannabis with our endocannabinoid systems and the different strains in very different ways. It's a lot more holistic. It's very naturally based. And I think women in general in the medical field are more drawn to it. I talk to more and more nurses every day and more nurse practitioners who are very interested in going forward with this. I think as women, the draw of being able to use plant-based therapies as opposed to pharmaceuticals is becoming more and more of a viable option. We're just looking forward to when federal prohibition can come down and more research can be done and we can direct this medicine in a specialized way where it becomes the first thing that our medical providers pull out of their toolbox instead of the last.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to turn this now to Kim and Catherine. Your experiences precede you in the business world. And Catherine, you and your work here in Maine, and then Kim, your venture into New Hampshire. So I'm really interested to hear about how you found being, you know, if it even mattered, being a woman in the business industry in Maine, and then kind of starting this new venture with caregiving that you did for your husband. Do you find that one kind of correlated, or was it an easy transition?
It started out as an easy transition and actually got a little bit harder. The deeper I got, the more stigma I found, and the more I found the male domination or the expectation that I may not know what I needed to know to be taken seriously in this industry. With the research that we do in our business, we look to solve problems. We thought about the problems that our clients were having. We wanted to solve them. My husband is a great cultivator. He doesn't blend anything. That's not his thing. We each serve our own roles. When he was incapacitated, I served his roles, and I was able to slip into that. I could lift the dirt, I could plant the plants, I could water and feed based on the recipes that I was used to doing. But when I got into the political realm, it was hugely different. And like I said, the deeper I went, the darker it got. And the more that the women in the community we all came together. And working together with the strength in numbers, we uplifted each other. There have been times that this community has had difficulties in remembering how to uplift each other. And one of the great things that, I think being a mom actually is what prepped me for it. I've been accused of that more than once. Is how to bring people together and to use positive affirmation to help women develop the skills necessary, because it's not rocket scientists. We're not rocket scientists. It's something that anybody can do if you have a passion for it. We want to educate people. Kim and I developed the educational program for medical marijuana caregivers in Maine, and we have taught hundreds and hundreds of people that have come through our doors how to do exactly what we've done, whether it be just from the law, cultivation, advocacy, blending, client care. We teach it all for everybody.
My transition from Maine to New Hampshire. It was exciting ground. I was honored to be able to have an opportunity to go over to a state that I originated from and be able to help patients in New Hampshire. Because as many of us know in Maine, we do get those calls from those border states, and they're desperate. People are dying, and it's tragic for us to hear those stories and know that there's just this line that divides the two. So how exciting to go over there and help open up one of the dispensaries. As much as I love cultivating cannabis, I was so detached because you're so busy producing that cannabis. I never had a chance to see my patients anymore. I could talk to potential patients on the phone, but I actually missed that caregiving part of what I love doing here in Maine, was meeting with my patients, educating them, teaching them how to blend, cook, and extract, and be more self-sufficient for themselves. So, as exciting as it was to go and be part of that, I still preferred being over here and kind of being able to help people in that way. So.
Thank you very much, and I love hearing everybody kind of frame cannabis for women as a tool to really unify and move forward. So Devin, I'm going to ask you if you could speak a little bit in your role about what this could mean potentially as a financial planner. What can women expect to be able to bring for themselves and for their families with this new industry?
Thank you so much. So, the surge of women coming into the industry, they're in every different role. They're being able to actually make better salaries. Traditionally, men were those who were financial breadwinners, and we see that shifting paradigm now. But women are able to make a nice living for themselves and to support their family, and it's a nice thing to see that being able to again bring more quality to family life and have a larger role in participating in supporting the family and supporting what they do and what their businesses do.
Thank you so much. And Faith, I'm going to actually harken back to a statement that you made last year on the women's panel, which was one of the most profound statements of the last year for me. We were discussing kind of geographically introducing the panel members, and Faith said to me that she was not willing to disclose the area in Maine she lived in because she didn't have a husband, a dog, or a gun. And I have never forgotten that statement because I think it really does speak to the darker side of how much we do want to talk about what the opportunities are for women. But how do we really balance this with the actual reality of, the potential for risk, the potential for violence, the potential for ramifications for ourselves, for our loved ones, for those of us that are mothers and have children? How do we balance what I think may be seen by some of the women in the audience, and definitely myself, as kind of one of the last unequal grounds? So if you could give a minute.
It's a lot to unpack there, Janice. Okay, I guess to speak back. So I am in a very unique position in that I am a one-woman show. So I am not affiliated with any group. I'm not affiliated with any dispensary. I'm just kind of myself, a caregiver and a healer. And so I plan, I prepare, I grow, I tend, I harvest, I formulate, I package, I process, I market, and I take care of my patients all by myself. It's, if you can imagine that, and for one person, an extremely enormous and exhausting task. But it's the work that I do in this world, and it's my mission, and I feel like this is what the universe has given for me to do. That at the proper time, the people I need to assist me in that will be drawn to me. But with that said, I am a woman who lives up on the hill, the mystical poet growing marijuana for her patients, without a man, a dog, or a gun. So even though I'm known in my town as this lady who does this thing, I'm also very, very private about who I am. I sub sometimes in the middle school, and I'm very quiet about what it is that I do. I'm very careful about not appearing medicated in public, because I am aware that even though we're working to reduce the stigma, that there's still an awful lot of it out of there. And you don't want to be the stoned lady who's like teaching 8th grade English. Right? Right. So I don't know if I'm even answering your question, but I think that, yes, I think that women in this world are having to be walking in two worlds. We are sort of going back and forth between being the leaders and being the support personnel, and then being the leaders again, and then being the support personnel. This is not a one gender thing. It's time, yes, indeed, I so agree with every woman on this panel to say that this is our moment to rise up, all women who are cannabis users, or support the use of cannabis for the people that they love. Because we are the nurturers, we are the healers, we are the medicine women of this growing tribe. But we also have to know that we're the mothers, and we are leaders in our other communities. So, blah blah. Marta, I can pass this over to you too.
Janice, I wanted to just address one part of that as far as risk, and certainly when you won't disclose your location because you don't have a dog, a gun, or a husband, that's speaking of safety. And I have to say, Janice, I don't think you're asking the right panel this question, because this is not a women's issue or a women's question. We are affected by it, but you should ask the men's panel, what are you going to do to stop violence against women in this new industry, and how are you going to be an advocate?
A big proponent of beat your meat, not your women, you know? Absolute harm reduction. We're all going to be living in those mystical huts on the hill pretty soon here. I want to open this up to anybody in the audience that's got some questions. So if anybody has a question for any of the women, given this wide depth of experience, all right. Think about it. I'll come back around. Yes. So the Women Grow program, can you give us a little bit of idea where we are with that, Ms. Nevin?
So we're actually in the very beginning stages of it. So it's being built currently. There's 27 locations across the United States. The closest one currently right now up and running is in Boston. So Beth is doing that as well. Yeah, she's wonderful. So that's actually, when I went to Denver, I met the founders, and I just realized such an incredible organization that supported women, and just it's just a very nice feeling. I guess, in the industry, being so male-dominated, I was one of the very few women that was actually at that conference. It just happens that the other ones were huge. It's great. So we're actually looking to build that here. I was making a point to go down to Boston once a month. All the meetings meet once a month, and it was a hype. There's a lot of us up here in Maine, and really needed an outlet, to do this, and such, such a great here, it's just something that would fit. So, I'm in the process of building that right now. So as soon as I have more information on that, I'm hoping to have that up and running within the next month or two. So I'll definitely get more information out on that. So I'm a little bit down in southern Maine. We haven't exactly decided that yet. I was thinking possibly Portland, but maybe somewhere more central to get most of the, not quite sure yet, but it'll definitely be a major, probably one of the major cities. No problem. I can get with
All right. One of the things I think is so important for women is to make sure that we are, Alice Walker said it best, I think, activism is the rent that I pay for living on this planet. And I think all of us here definitely have our foot in this as far as activism, but also other, areas, veterans and, financial and the medical world. But what I really like each of you to kind of end today is what you feel would be the next best step to either support the young women in New England and specifically in the state of Maine in being able to really move forward into a much different, new day where this is like Marta had said, where the violence is reduced, where opportunity is lauded, where, it is no longer a women's panel, but just a panel at a cannabis trade show. So if you could each speak in turn, if there's any other questions, let me know.
Well, excuse me, at MMCM, we are actually developing our community outreach program as we speak. And some of the areas that we've been talking about is our veterans support, our medical support, women's support, cancer support. And as far as educating the women, we want to give them a safe place to come to ask questions, to feel that they can belong, including Women Grow. Having that chapter here, we will also be updating our members as to the opportunity to participate in that organization as well. And we intend to continue our education series to develop and help support the young women as they grow. We've actually started going to the state of Maine, the State House, when they have the Women's Day. And they have the young girls coming from the different schools, so we now have a presence there at the State House to let them know how they can be advocates for this industry as well as themselves through the legislative process.
I think that continuing to educate women, and for those of us that are leaders in the industry, making ourselves available to mentor other women that want to continue to expand and move forward in the industry. I find that it's those supports and the encouragement, as we all on this panel do, support one another and build each other up, and however we can help one another, that makes us stronger as a whole. I think that's the best way that we can continue to move forward together.
Marta has a quote, something about the cannabis industry being a second chance for a lot of people. This, anytime you're at the verge of something that's brand new, that's opening up, it leaves so much space for creativity. It gives everyone an opportunity, not just women, but men, to take a mental list of their strengths and their weaknesses, and to be able to find a place within the community. You need to be honest with yourself about what you have to offer, and to take a look at what's available and how to mold that into either what already exists, or you're going to take the step to become an entrepreneur and to find a way to do it yourself. And I'd just like to give the advice to anyone who is looking to get into the cannabis industry that is not there already, to align yourselves with people that have a really good reputation and don't just say it, but they walk the walk and they follow through with what they have to say. You know, when CannaCare first started, we were self-funded, and it was a lot of trust in a lot of people that I didn't know. The one thing that I did was to take the time to watch their actions, to see what they were doing, to thoroughly vet and to follow through on everything that they said and make sure that they did it. And when you find a group of people who are extremely open, that have an excellent communication, that have a heart and a passion for this industry, and do what they say they're going to do, those are the people that you want to align yourselves with.
Passion and support are, I think, two of the biggest things that are going to move this industry forward. And groups like Women Grow, MMCM,
panels such as this, conventions like this, those are things that are really paramount to moving this forward. Anyone who is interested or has that passion, certainly start, just like Jen said, have a kind of mentor or someone you can relate to and talk to. That's a huge thing, and that would be the vision of Women Grow. Anyone who has a passion that just anything in this industry, whether it's growing or an ancillary business, anything, just kind of supporting each other and hopefully, getting like-minded individuals together and putting together some people things that we have a great ability to do.
I think what would be great is first of all, thank everybody for sitting through this panel. I mean, I learned a lot. I always do. It's pretty incredible. And since you're now an expert and you know more about the cannabis industry than anybody else by sitting in this room right now, go out and find your rich aunt or that lady that you knew had a lot of money, or go write a letter to Sheryl Sandberg or someone and tell them that this is a great place for women to invest and to invest in other women. And if we all do that every day, we're going to find some big investors who are women and are interested in having a blended, caring community, and we will.
I guess thinking about it, because I've had some time to think about it. Stigma is a huge thing, especially for women in the industry and for women in general. When I told my family at 18 I was joining the military, they said, "That's for boys." I'm not kidding. And it was a big deal, and they didn't support it until I got out. And now they're proud. I told them I was going into the cannabis industry. I said I'm moving to Humboldt. They said I was crazy. They didn't support it at all. They don't understand a lot of my decisions, no matter how much time I take, how slowly I talk. There's nothing I can do to reach them, because their cannabis is bad, marijuana is a drug, shouldn't you be married with a baby? I'm serious, these are conversations I've had with members of my family. What, you're 28, no prospects? Oh my God. I'm like, well, it's a thing. It's a thing I've had to deal with in a way that sometimes you can feel isolated, you can feel alone, you can feel like I can't talk to my own family about this. But I found that literally these women on the panel, when I get nervous about putting together a convention or public speaking, I'll go over to Mata, I'll go talk to one of these ladies, I'll be like, "You ready?" They'll be like, "We're ready." We understand what you're going through. We understand that. It's not as easy as saying, "I want to be a cannabis activist," because everyone's going to be behind you. You're going to say, "I want to be a cannabis activist," and you're going to reach opposition. I just want to inform you that's going to happen. This is the easiest thing I do. I do a lot of public speaking. I do a lot of activism. I don't fake the funk. Nobody up here fakes the funk. We're here because we love what we do. We're here because we're passionate about what we do. And we're here because if it was still a Schedule I substance, I would still be doing it. I am not wrong. And I know that these women are not wrong. And we're going to make sure that it is accessible to everyone, the information is accessible to everyone. And by coming here and getting yourself educated, by coming to we all teach classes, we're all willing to help you find resources. That's what you need, because you need to arm yourself with information. Education, information transcends people, because you can't argue with statistics, you can't argue with the facts, you can't argue with science. Endocannabinoid system, I have enough research on that, but I bet you dollars to donuts that the majority of people you talk to have no idea what that means. So it's going to be crucial that you go CB1, CB2 receptor. Those city council meetings, I tell you what, I've been there, they got no idea. They don't know cotyledons from trichomes. They don't. And you're going to go up there and you're going to be able to argue a good plant count. You're going to be able to talk about why women who are pregnant shouldn't have to worry about DSS coming in their lives if they're medicating with cannabis appropriately for what it is they need. That's a medical condition. And together we're going to break these stigmas of what a woman should be. A woman should be anything she wants. A man should be anything they want. And in this industry, we're going to do it all. We can do biodegradable plastic with hemp. We can do phytoremediation with hemp. We can cure cancer with cannabis. And we need to be talking about those things. And yes, you're going to break those stigmas. People look at you look at me and think this girl cultivates cannabis, she's yielding like 3 pounds off a plant, I grow, I do all these things. People look at me and they think I'm just some college student. They have no idea what these women have to offer because, like you were saying, we don't look like stereotypical stoners. I don't have dreads. I'm not wearing as much tie-dye as I'd like. You have to be professional. It's really, we are breaking the stigma. So if you ever need any help or any encouragement, any single person on this panel, we want to help you. I want to help you get further. I'll be over at the Glass Jar. We're all going to be at our respective booths. Come on by.
All these incredible women. I've been using cannabis since I was 13 years old. So that would be 38 years now. And I have always felt okay about it, but I've understood that the larger world has perceived me as a criminal still. So what I want to say is, if you are a woman, and especially if you are a mother, and you are able to embrace your cannabis use and to treat your family with cannabis, and we are not going to have any more stigma because we're going to raise up the next generation of young people who look to cannabis as a first-line treatment for many, many conditions. So here we go.